Have you ever walked into a room, smiled, said hello, but sensed something had shifted? The warmth in people's eyes wasn't quite there. The conversation didn't flow like it used to. Maybe they pulled back slightly, or the phone calls have grown few and far between. It's a quiet feeling, one that sneaks up on us with age. But what if the distance you're sensing isn't about them, but something you're unknowingly doing? As we grow older, we settle into routines, familiar rhythms that once served us well, but slowly and without warning, these habits can turn into blind spots. Small behaviors that quietly tell the world, I've let go of myself a little. And while no one wants to point it out of love, respect, or discomfort, they begin to respond in subtle ways. Less connection, less warmth, less closeness. In this video, we're going to explore 12 subtle habits that might be pushing others away without you even realizing it. These aren't about vanity or perfection. They're about dignity, presence, and the power you still hold to shape how people experience you and how you feel about yourself. And most importantly, I'm not just pointing them out. I'll also give you practical, simple steps that can help you reclaim your confidence, reconnect with others, and walk into any room with the grace and self-respect you've earned. If you're ready to strengthen your relationships and rediscover the light within you, watch until the very end. One small shift might change everything. But before we dive in, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider clicking like and subscribing to my channel. It helps me reach more people with these lessons we all need to hear, no matter our age. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now let's begin. 1. Neglecting personal hygiene. Let's start with something few people dare to bring up, but almost everyone notices. You may not see it in the mirror. You may not smell it yourself, but others do. We're talking about personal hygiene. It's one of the most powerful nonverbal messages you send to the world without ever saying a word. And unfortunately, it's one of the first signs others notice when something feels off, even if they'd never mention it out loud. A shirt that's been worn a few too many days. Hair that's lost its shine, tangled or unbrushed. Fingernails a little too long, maybe with dirt hiding underneath. A scent that lingers in the air, not the perfume or aftershave you once wore proudly, but something more musty, stale, or sour. No one wants to admit it and no one wants to offend, so they don't say anything. Instead, they gently pull back. They might sit a little farther away, skip the warm hug they once gave so freely, or cut visits short. You might think they're just busy. But the truth is, these physical details, these quiet signals, can unconsciously shape how others treat us. And it's not about judgment. It's about perception. See, personal hygiene isn't just about being clean. It's about self-respect. It's about showing up with intention. In our younger years, we brushed our teeth, ironed our shirts, washed our hair because we were meeting the world, going to work, going on dates, hosting friends, living full lives. But as we age, it's easy to slip. Energy dips, motivation fades, routines crumble. And without meaning to, we begin to ask ourselves, what's the point? Who even cares anymore? But here's the truth. You should care. You matter. And how you care for yourself tells the world. I still respect myself, and I respect you enough to show up well. It's not about wearing expensive clothes or looking perfect. It's about freshness, effort, that feeling of taking pride in how you present yourself, even if it's just to walk around the house or see a friend for tea. Simple things go a long way. A freshly washed outfit, brushed hair, clean hands, a subtle fragrance that reminds people of who you are, vibrant, thoughtful, present. These things whisper to the world, I'm still here, I still count. And when you carry yourself with that quiet dignity, others respond. They lean in, they stay longer, they feel more connected. So ask yourself gently, are there small ways I've let go of my grooming thinking it didn't matter? And if so, what's one small act of care I can bring back today? It might seem minor, but it changes everything. 2. Speaking without a filter. I've earned the right to say what I think. Sound familiar? It's a common sentiment, and in many ways it's true. With age comes wisdom, experience, truths we've carried for decades, and the confidence to finally speak them aloud. But here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes as we age, that inner filter, the one that used to ask, is this kind, or should I say this, now begins to fade. We call it honesty. Others might feel it as harshness. You may have noticed it yourself. Saying something blunt about someone's appearance, their parenting, or their choices, and brushing off their discomfort with a proud, I'm just telling it like it is. Or people are too sensitive these days. But here's the hard truth. Honesty without compassion can sound like cruelty. People rarely tell you they're hurt. They just withdraw. Invitations stop. Conversations grow surface level. They smile politely, but they don't open up the way they used to. And suddenly you're wondering, why am I feeling so distant from everyone? It's not because your words were wrong. It's because they lacked warmth. There's a powerful question to ask before you speak. Is this helpful? And is this kind? It doesn't mean you have to sugarcoat the truth, but when your insight is wrapped in kindness, people lean in. They listen. They grow from what you say. Because truth with tenderness is magnetic. It shows emotional intelligence, not just bluntness. It deepens relationships rather than pushing people away. So next time you feel that urge to say it like it is, pause for a moment. Imagine someone saying it to your child or grandchild. Would you want them to hear it that way? If not, maybe it's worth softening the delivery. Your voice still matters. In fact, it matters now more than ever. But how you use it, that's what shapes the legacy you leave. And when you speak with wisdom and kindness, people not only hear your words, they remember how you made them feel. 3. Wearing clothes that don't fit anymore. There's a certain comfort that comes with the familiar, your favorite cardigan, the slippers molded perfectly to your feet, or that well-worn pair of pants you've had for decades. They carry memories. They've been with you through seasons of life. And because of that, it's easy to keep reaching for them without a second thought. But what if over time, those same clothes start sending a message you don't intend, seams that strain or sag, shirts that hang awkwardly or cling too tightly, shoes that look threadbare or painfully outdated? These aren't just fashion issues. They speak volumes about how engaged you are with the present moment. And whether you realize it or not, people notice. You might never hear a word about it. Out of politeness, no one says, that jacket looks 20 years out of date, or those pants seem a bit loose. But silently, perceptions begin to shift. This isn't about chasing trends or dressing like you're decades younger. It's about showing the world that you're still here, still active, still paying attention, still choosing how you show up. A wardrobe doesn't need to be expensive or extravagant to make an impact. Clean, well-fitting clothes in colors that suit your skin tone, paired with shoes that look polished and cared for, create a sense of dignity and self-respect. And that doesn't go unnoticed. Imagine someone seeing you in a tailored pair of slacks, a sweater that complements your frame, or a blouse in a shade that lights up your face. They see someone who is alive, vibrant, graceful, and confident. The transformation doesn't require a closet overhaul. Start small. Maybe it's donating a few pieces that no longer serve you and choosing 2 or 3 outfits that make you feel proud to wear them. Perhaps it's finally replacing those worn-out shoes with a comfortable yet stylish pair that supports your stride and your self-image. When you take care in what you wear, you're silently telling the world, I still value myself and I care about how I'm seen. It's not vanity, it's self-honoring. So ask yourself, what would I wear if today were a special occasion? What if every day was 4. Interrupting or dominating conversations. You've seen a lot. You've lived through history. You've earned your stories. So when a conversation turns to something you've experienced, something you know deeply, it's natural to want to jump in, to offer your wisdom, your advice, your perspective. After all, why let someone else stumble through what you've already figured out? But here's where the danger lies. Talking too much can make others feel like they're not being heard at all. It happens quietly. You interrupt just for a second to share a memory. You steer the conversation toward a topic you feel passionate about. You mean well, truly. But without realizing it, you've spoken for 5, 10, even 15 minutes, and no one else has said a word. When this happens repeatedly, people begin to pull back. They don't tell you it's because you talk too much, most won't say a thing, but they'll start to share less. They'll hesitate to call. The conversations grow shallow, short, predictable. This especially affects the younger people in your life, your adult children, your grandchildren, even new friends. They may already feel a generational gap. And if they feel steamrolled in conversation, they'll emotionally check out. Not because they don't love you, but because they don't feel seen. The solution, it's beautifully simple. Listen more, talk less. Ask open-ended questions like, what was that like for you? Or how did that make you feel? When someone pauses, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. That's where trust grows. When you give others the space to speak, something beautiful happens. They begin to invite your voice back in. They seek your thoughts. They crave your stories because they know you'll listen to theirs. That's how connection deepens. That's how respect grows. You don't need to dominate the conversation to be remembered. Sometimes being the one who listens is the most powerful role of all. Complaining about kids these days. We've all done it. You see a teenager glued to their phone while crossing the street, or hear a young adult say something you'd never have dared say at their age, and you shake your head. Kids these days, it starts as a passing comment, a chuckle, a sigh. But when repeated, these small critiques can harden into something more damaging, a wall between you and the younger people in your life. At family dinners, it might sound like a joke. Back in my day, we knew how to work. At the grocery store, these young people have no manners, even online. They're too sensitive, too entitled, too distracted. But while these comments may feel like harmless observations, they carry weight. They tell younger generations, I don't really care to understand you. They say, I've made up my mind about your worth. And the response, they distance themselves. They stop confiding in you. They stop asking for advice. They stop showing up not because they don't care, but because they don't feel respected. Here's the truth. Every generation has looked at the next with skepticism. Every older adult has wondered, what's happening to the world? But when we lead with judgment, we close the door to connection. Instead, try leading with curiosity. Ask, what's it like to grow up in today's world? How do you handle all the pressure and noise from social media? What matters most to you right now? These questions invite dialogue. They show respect. They say, I might not understand everything you're going through, but I want to. And in that space, something powerful happens. The young open up. They ask you questions. They seek your wisdom, not because they have to, but because they want to. You become not a critic of their world, but a guide within it. And that's a role no technology can replace. 6. Oversharing medical problems. Now, let's face it, aging brings aches, surgeries, pills, and doctor appointments. Talking about them sometimes feels inevitable, and after all, when something takes up so much of your time and attention, how can you not share it? But here's where we need to be mindful. When every conversation becomes a medical update, it can exhaust the people around you, especially younger loved ones. You may think I'm just being open, or I'm sharing what's going on in my life, and that's true. But from the outside, it can start to feel like the energy of every interaction is pulled downward into worry, discomfort, or even helplessness. Imagine meeting a friend for coffee, and the first 30 minutes are about your blood pressure, your hip pain, your insomnia, your medications. The next time that friend might hesitate, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to help. And for grandchildren or younger family members, the emotional burden is heavier. They're still figuring out their own place in the world, and they often don't know how to process constant health-related conversations. Now, this doesn't mean you should pretend everything's fine. Your pain is real. Your struggles matter. You deserve support and empathy. But balance is key. Ask yourself, is this the right space? Is this the right person? Is this the right time? Try shifting some of those deeper health talks to a support group or trusted peer, someone who truly gets it. And when you're with others, especially family, try to bring something else to the table. Share a funny memory. Ask about their lives. Talk about a recent book, a movie, or something you've learned. You are more than your symptoms. You still have wisdom, humor, perspective, stories, and those are the things people long to connect with. 7. Oversharing medical problems. It's no secret getting older brings its share of health concerns, aches that weren't there yesterday, prescriptions that seem to multiply, appointments that fill your calendar more than holidays do. Naturally, these experiences shape your day-to-day life, and the instinct to share them with others can feel, well, human. But here's something to consider. While your medical updates may be meaningful to you, to those around you, especially loved ones, they can become emotionally overwhelming. Have you noticed how conversations sometimes begin with a rundown of recent lab results or that nagging shoulder pain? Then maybe shift into a recap of the last visit to the doctor or an analysis of your neighbor's hip surgery. It happens so subtly. But when health talk dominates, it can begin to feel like the only narrative others hear from you. The energy shifts. The mood dips. And slowly, some people, especially the younger ones, might withdraw. Not because they're insensitive, but because they don't know how to respond. They might feel helpless or guilty for being healthy, or just unsure what to say. That doesn't mean you should suffer in silence or put on a fake smile. Your health matters. You deserve support. But the key is balance. Choose your moments wisely. Consider your audience. Share your challenges when the time feels right, but try not to let them become the centerpiece of every interaction. Instead, make a conscious effort to widen the lens. Ask your family, what's something fun or unexpected that happened to you this week? Tell your friends about the odd bird that visited your feeder this morning. Share that one-liner from the book you're reading that made you laugh out loud. Or talk about your neighbor who planted an upside-down tomato garden. It's weirdly working. These simple shifts lighten the emotional load. They remind people that your life is rich, full of color, and not defined by your diagnoses. And in doing so, you become someone others enjoy being around, not out of obligation, but because they leave conversations with you feeling uplifted, not weighed down. When people feel seen and valued in your presence, when laughter is shared and joy exchanged, that's when connection thrives. 8. Being stubborn about outdated beliefs. Let's be honest, our beliefs, values, and views are often deeply rooted in our experiences. We carry the wisdom of decades, and that's a gift. But sometimes that gift can become a barrier if we hold on to it too tightly. As we age, it's easy to grow rigid in our thinking. We've lived long enough to know what works, or so we believe. But when we close ourselves off to new perspectives, we risk becoming unintentionally stubborn, and that can quietly push others away. Maybe it's resisting new technology with a grumble, "I don't need that nonsense." Or dismissing social changes with, "Back in my day, we didn't make a fuss about these things." Or refusing to accept evolving norms and how people express themselves, connect, or live. These beliefs, while understandable, and this can create a rift, especially with younger generations. To them, it may feel like judgment, like you're unwilling to see the world through their eyes, and so they retreat. Not to be disrespectful, but because connection begins to feel impossible. But here's the good news. You don't have to agree with everything. You just have to stay open. Curiosity is a superpower. When someone younger than you brings up something you don't understand, try asking, "Tell me more about that." I'm genuinely curious, not sarcastically. Genuinely. You might be surprised at how much respect that one gesture earns you. You've built a life on learning. Why stop now? Your role isn't to uphold the past as the only truth. It's to share your wisdom while showing that you're still learning, that you're still listening, that your mind, like your heart, is open. People respect experience, but they connect with humility. By gently loosening your grip on old beliefs and embracing curiosity, you become not only wise, but deeply approachable. That's when your legacy begins to expand far beyond what you say into how you make people feel. 9. Walking or moving without awareness of space. This one is subtle, but it matters more than most people realize. As we age, changes to balance, mobility, and even spatial awareness are completely normal. Slower steps, pausing to think, or adjusting your pace for safety are all part of honoring your body. But here's the catch: when we become unaware of how we move through shared spaces, it can quietly impact how others experience us. Imagine standing still in the middle of a crowded grocery aisle, absorbed in your list, not realizing others are trying to pass. Or stopping abruptly on a busy sidewalk to tie your shoe, unaware that someone's right behind you. Or unintentionally drifting side to side in a walkway, blocking the flow of movement. These moments seem minor. You didn't mean to inconvenience anyone. But over time, they can lead to quiet frustration in others, revealed not through words, but through subtle signs, a sigh, a wide step to avoid you, or a decision to avoid future interactions altogether. Now, does this mean you should rush, push yourself, or feel ashamed for moving slower? Absolutely not. It simply means cultivating a bit more spatial mindfulness, a gentle awareness of how your movement affects the shared rhythm of the world around you. Little habits help. Walk to the side of pathways. Pause near shelves, not in the middle of aisles. Glance around now and then to see how traffic is flowing. Allow others to pass when needed. These aren't just social graces, they're acts of respect. They say, "I may move more slowly, but I still see you. I still care about your experience." And that consideration doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, people will respond warmly. They'll feel more at ease around you. They'll see your presence as one that adds to the community, not disrupts it. Aging with grace isn't about moving faster. It's about moving with intention. 10. Making jokes that don't age well. Laughter is timeless, but jokes aren't. Humor connects us. It bridges gaps, lightens moods, and makes life richer. But just like fashion or music, humor evolves with time. And sometimes what once drew hearty laughs decades ago might now land with confusion or even discomfort. It happens more often than you think. You make a joke that used to get a chuckle, but now there's an awkward silence, maybe a raised eyebrow, or a polite change of subject. You didn't mean to offend. You were just being playful. But the cultural landscape has shifted and certain types of jokes just don't sit the same anymore. Remarks about gender, race, weight, or someone's appearance, even when made in jest, can be seen as insensitive today, even if your intention was innocent. And while it might feel frustrating, people can't take a joke anymore. The truth is more nuanced. Society is becoming more inclusive, more thoughtful about how words affect others. That's not a bad thing, it's growth. So instead of defending old jokes, why not evolve your humor? Funny observations, quirky memories, and witty commentary about everyday life still land well because they bring people in, not push them away. Laughter that unites is always welcome. The goal isn't to tiptoe or be afraid to speak. The goal is to make sure your humor builds connection, not barriers. When people know that being around you is safe, warm, and filled with laughter that uplifts, they come back again and again, not out of politeness, but because they genuinely enjoy your presence. And that kind of joy, that's a gift that never goes out of style. 11. Acting helpless when you're not. As we age, it's completely normal to face new challenges physically, mentally, or even emotionally. Whether it's learning new technology, lifting things that once felt light, or simply trying something unfamiliar, these moments can feel overwhelming. But there's a difference between genuinely needing support and falling into the habit of acting helpless. Saying things like, I just can't figure this out, or can you do this for me, in situations where you might still be capable, like using a smartphone, lifting a grocery bag, or managing basic household tasks, can create unintended burdens on those around you. Family members may start to feel more like caregivers than equals. Friends might quietly feel drained from constantly having to step in. This isn't about blame, and it often comes from a deeper place: fear of making mistakes, of feeling out of touch, or of failing in front of others. That's human. But if we let those feelings drive us, we risk losing something even more important: our sense of independence. People don't admire perfection. They admire effort. Every time you try something new, even if it doesn't go smoothly, you send a message: I'm still here, I'm still trying, I'm still growing. And that inspires others more than you may realize. Next time you face a challenge, start by giving it your best shot. Watch a tutorial. Ask for guidance instead of handing off the task entirely. Even if it takes longer, even if you don't get it right the first time, you're strengthening your own resilience. And when you do need help, be clear, appreciative, and mindful of others' time and energy. This balance between autonomy and support is what keeps relationships strong. It protects the dignity of both sides. It says, I respect myself enough to try, and I respect you enough not to lean on you unless I truly need it. Remaining capable isn't about doing everything on your own. It's about staying present, engaged, and responsible for your own journey. And in doing so, you become a model of quiet strength, a person who still has something powerful to teach simply by how they choose to live. 12. Always needing to be right. After decades of living, you've seen a lot. You've overcome challenges, witnessed change, and learned hard lessons that only time can teach. That kind of wisdom carries weight, and it can be tempting to believe your view is the right view, the final word in any discussion. But here's the danger. When the need to be right outweighs the need to connect, it can quietly push people away. Correcting someone's story mid-sentence, dismissing a younger person's ideas with, I've lived long enough to know better. Refusing to consider other perspectives, all these habits can make others feel small, unheard, or even invisible. Over time, they may stop sharing altogether, not because they don't care, but because they don't feel safe or respected. This creates a subtle but painful isolation. Your voice begins to fill the room, but others go silent. And the rich, beautiful give and take of conversation fades into a one-sided monologue. But real wisdom. It's not about proving you're always right. It's about knowing when to speak and when to listen. Try softening your approach. Instead of declaring your opinions as facts, offer them as insights. Ask questions like, "What's your take on this?" Or, "That's interesting. How did you come to see it that way?" These small shifts turn lectures into dialogues. They invite connection instead of defensiveness. Being curious doesn't diminish your experience, it enhances it. People will listen more closely not because they're being corrected, but because they feel your respect. And when your insights do come through gently, thoughtfully, they carry more weight. Why? Because you've earned trust. You've shown humility. In the end, it's not about always having the last word. It's about making others feel heard. And in doing so, you create relationships that are rich, balanced, and deeply human. Thank you for joining me on this heartfelt journey of reflection and growth. We've explored 12 subtle but powerful habits that often, without us realizing it, can quietly push people away, especially as we grow older. But now you hold the awareness. You've seen how small shifts in tone, in openness, in effort can breathe new life into your relationships. These changes don't require dramatic reinvention, just intention, just awareness, just heart. So now I invite you to pause and reflect. What insights stood out to you most? What surprised you? And more importantly, what's one small change you feel ready to make in your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Just one thing you learned and how you plan to apply it. Your wisdom might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video touched you, please take a moment to share, and subscribe to our channel. We're here to support you with thoughtful content that uplifts, informs, and inspires. You are never alone on this path of growth. And until next time, thank you for your presence, your time, and your willingness to grow. We'll see you again very soon.